Hi everyone, good afternoon, and a very warm welcome to the webinar focusing on one of the most critical CXO roles today, that is Chief Human Resource Officers, or as we call today, Chief People Officer. I'm Cheshta, Head of Research and Content at People Matters, and I'm excited to host this session for all of you today. Just to get us started, we would love to hear which country are you joining us from. Go ahead and type in the comments. Wonderful. A very warm welcome to those of us who are joining us now as well. Let's get us started. So, as we all are observing and experiencing how the role of CHRO is undergoing a seismic shift across the globe, and especially in the diverse region of Southeast Asia, technology disruptions, evolving business priorities, and even personal leadership aspirations are shaping and reshaping the expectations from HR leadership. To thrive in this dynamic landscape, CHROs must not only align current HR strategies with business goals, but also lead organizational transformation, enable C suite success, and empower HR teams while planning for their own succession. A lot, right? But how can CHROs really do it successfully while building the right capabilities and future proofing HR leadership in the region? So, join us for the exclusive webinar here today as we unveil and also discuss the findings of CHRO Effectiveness in Southeast Asia 2025 research, a very comprehensive research study capturing insights from over 220 CHROs, CEOs, and founders and other C suite leaders across SEA. While you can download this study through the link my colleague will share in the comments, this conversation will equip HR leaders and business executives with actionable insights to enhance CHRO effectiveness, build the right capabilities, transform C suite impact, and present imperatives that will safeguard the HR leaderships across Southeast Asia. So, some of the key topics that we are going to be discussing today are rethinking the CHRO scorecard, very important as how it is evolving and expanding, understanding the CHRO effectiveness framework, CHRO career roadmap and trajectories, and also the imperatives for future proofing HR leadership. And for this discussion, I'm so glad to share that we have a very experienced and celebrated CHRO joining us today, Narelle Burke from Kantar.
Hi, Shesha. Lovely to be here and delighted to be a part of this launch as well.
Very warm welcome, Narelle. I'm so excited to have you here today. Wonderful. A little bit about Narelle here. Narelle is an award winning international human resource leader with more than 20 plus years of experience working in strategic HR business partnering and CEO roles. She has worked across a multitude of country, regional, and global roles and across various industries from government, business enterprises to even tech startups. In particular, Narelle is known for her work in organizational leadership, transformation and change, development of an inclusive culture, developing talent in agile ways, and the ability to turn around and build great teams. She's unapologetically authentic and human and brings an endless energy, drive, and positivity for people to all roles she takes on. A very warm welcome again, Narelle, and I've personally interacted with you a couple of times. It's a special episode with you because you were a part of the research process and we had an in-depth interview. So I'm so excited to discussing the findings with you today and have our listeners chime in on the conversation.
Fabulous. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. So without further ado, let's dive straight into the conversation. Can we have the PowerPoint slides, please? Wonderful. So, to all our listeners, we have curated a very short executive insights version of our research, just to give you a glimpse of the insights we'll be discussing today. And for the rest, you can definitely download the whole research. Moving on, just a little bit of what this research is about, the magnitude of it. On the next slide, we have is how we interviewed over 10 CHROs and CXOs across the organization sizes and industries and gathered survey responses from 220 CXOs. Uh, it covered almost all countries in the SEA. And if you see the talent impact, it has 0.6 million in employment and revenue impact, it is $41 billion in revenue. That's the magnitude the research has when implemented correctly. Now, going straight away to the first question, and the slide we have over next is on the business expectations from HR leaders. So, Narelle, our report found that 78% of CEOs and founders today expect CHROs to lead future preparedness and transformation in the organization. How ready do you think CHROs across the Southeast Asia today in in building future-ready organizations? How do you see this emerging in business context that you are operating in?
Yeah, it's such a great question, and I'd say a lot of my time right now is actually spent on this particular area. So I think CPOs, which is what we call them in our organisation, are absolutely at a pivotal moment, and I would say definitely within Southeast Asia. The business landscape is evolving rapidly. We are characterised by rapid technology advancements and evolving business priorities that are changing daily at times, depending on macroeconomic outlook. And it's no longer enough just to keep pace. We, as in the HR professionals and CPOs, we need to lead this change. In my experience, CPOs are increasingly stepping up. In our business at Kantar, our Global Chief People Officer is the sponsor for the digital transformation workstream. Our business is a people-based business, so it's not just about buying or building the AI technology. It's about fundamentally rethinking how we work and a real change in our employee mindsets. It's a cultural as much as a digital transformation, and I think this is the mistake organizations made. Having the technology is not enough. Adapting and enabling employees to utilize that effectively for the benefit internally and with our clients is the key. And that is absolutely in the domain of the CPOs. So HR is not just preparing for this future, we're actively leading and shaping it.
Wonderful. And I think that's a great thing that you're already doing at Kantar, and some of the most progressive CHROs, we've already been hearing that they are being pulled into and called on a lot of scenario planning and future transformation and preparedness conversations. For our listeners, what we try to do in this research is we try to gauge business expectations from CHROs in all of these areas that you can see on the slide, and we bucketize this into the four key work priorities, which you can see on the left hand side: future transformation, current people and culture and business alignment, C-suite success, and HR team growth. While most of the focus is on the current people and business alignment, as you can see, there are other three areas that are emerging as well. So what we try to do after this, as Narelle said also, is also to check how does the CHRO scorecard reflect with all of these areas, right? So if you see on the next slide, we saw more focus on the business as usual factors, the current HR strategy factors that CHR scorecards are still relying on. So, Narelle, would love to get your inputs on how should organizations rethink their CHR scorecard to better reflect talent impact and broad organizational outcomes that are evolving in the business landscape today. All the other three factors that we've discussed in the previous slide.
Yeah, and we spoke about this last week, and I think I was quite horrified when I saw where CPOs are currently involved, and frankly, I think it's antiquated. I don't think this in any way, shape, or form reflects where CPOs should be focused, or more importantly, where we create value. So for me, it's time to rethink the CPO scorecard. It's not fit for purpose now, and it's not fit for purpose for the future. We should be measuring truly what happens and what matters. And I think in terms of that, I would go to a few key areas. Organizational and workforce planning which is short-term cost optimization and long-term capability and future-proofing, are absolutely essential, both. We're in an optimization phase and we need to be prepared for the future. Leadership effectiveness is absolutely essential. Leaders who can actually adapt and adjust to this change, manage business as usual, but also scan the horizon for the future is fundamental. This is a cultural transformation. Are you measuring where you're at, where you need to be, and the transition path to get there? Does your current culture work for you, or is it holding you back? And digital adoption, how quickly are you measuring that? Are you measuring the acceleration of adoption of your key tools that will enable business success across the business, but also in all functions, including the HR function? And our ability to drive change at every single level of the organization. It is a critical enabler. So these metrics showcase our strategic value. They underscore our role as a key driver of organizational success. But this slide has to change, and I would say by next week, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. I think glad that you shared some of the key metrics that have to change here and that actually have to be added here. And especially, I remember us talking about that digital business transformation, HR technology transformation does not is not reflected in it, which is a big thing, as many organizations are now have been investing in advancing their HR technology platforms and driving business transformation through that, which I think using AI and emerging tech is also a part of future transformation. So it's a key metric to track, especially for that. And the rest, what do you think of HR team success? Because HR's effectiveness is equally important in driving some of the future outcomes. So where do you think it would come here in the scorecard?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely essential. And I think we have a couple of roles here. One is, how do we transform the HR or the people function, and how are we demonstrating and role modeling that? But how are we making the lives easier for our colleagues, for our managers, and for our leaders to work on people aspects of the business? So that's around self-service or other areas. And then the third part is, we have one of the best views across the organization and can see opportunities to leverage technology within the business. So I think we have a huge role to play. But let's come back to HR specifically. Beyond aligning, with business strategy, we as a function should be playing with technology to find new and innovative ways to use it. So for example, we had one of our people in our teams create a 7,000 word prompt. 7,000 word prompt. However, that prompt saves us months of work to do very, very complex work across the world. And importantly, nobody asked this person to do this prompt, but they did it, and it's amazing, and it's being scaled as an agent that we can use. That's an example of playing with technology. We're also using it to provide chatbots to answer policy questions, to compare our policies externally to legislation. We're using it to do performance reviews, career development plans. We've got real live coaching moments across people and clients and commercial areas. We're using it for analysis and employee engagement, and we're doing it in large scale workshops to iterate and provide innovation in the organization. The tooling is only the touch point of this. It helps everyone if you start to play with the technology, including CPOs. And the one thing I would say around this, Cheshire, is with my boss, who's the global CPO, every one of our conversations includes something about how we're using AI to better our function or the business. It's a part of the way we do things now.
That's wonderful, and thank you for sharing some of those examples. That's absolutely critical. I mean, as we are seeing so much technological advancements here, we're also seeing more and more emerging use cases, and organizations like Kantar under your leadership, we are seeing some of those progressive use cases. I would love to hear from some of the listeners on how are they leveraging some of the advanced technology especially in the CHRO role, because we are going to dive deep into a little bit later into what is the exact amount of time CHROs and senior HR leaders spending, in their work and leveraging technology for those work priorities. But before that, Narelle, I would also like to touch upon one other elephant in the room here, the fourth element here, which is enabling C-suite success. In the last slide, we saw only 6% of business leaders expected CHROs to, work on the CXO succession, the CEO succession, and it was close to only 20% people who expected businesses to work on the executive compensation, which is quite less, in my opinion. And if we see on the next slide here, what we also tried to do was gauge CHRO effectiveness, and actually did the perception gap analysis between how CHROs perceive their effectiveness versus how CEO and founders perceive their CHROs effectiveness amidst all of these work areas. So what we actually found was that there is definitely a lag in CHRO's effectiveness in enabling C-suite success, which is area like executive succession and executive compensation. And this is due to low C-suite expectation and also minimal time being spent on CEO succession. So, why do you think factors like preparing for CEO succession are on the back burner on many CHROs in this region? How do you see this shifting in 2025?
Yeah, I was actually quite surprised to see that when we spoke about it, because it's traditionally been an area of focus, particularly in listed companies. Exec comp and succession planning are critical for a couple of reasons. One is succession planning of your organization and business continuity is a risk and needs a plan behind that. But more importantly, if you don't have your executive compensation strategy aligned to your organizational priorities, it's a big issue. It's always an area of focus. And so that did surprise me. I think there could be a couple of things going on. So one hypothesis may be that you've got stable leadership teams and there hasn't been a need, or there are long-term incentives, which means people are not moving and therefore it's stable. That would surprise me, but maybe an option. It may be that there are immediate operational demands that are taking greater priority, or it's been deprioritized by the board, or there is just a gap in expectation from both parties on what's actually required. Either way, to have a gap in that is not great because it's a critical capability. And so I would say if I was a CPO reading this, I would have a conversation with the CEO and the board, ask what is the expectation, where are we at, and what do we need to close that gap? Because this is domain expertise knowledge. This is our house and we should be getting that right.
Yeah. This almost feels like jeopardizing HR leadership and actually business leadership across the organization. If preparing for CEO and C-suite succession and areas like managing C-suite leadership development and collaboration are not in focus. And we actually have in our research the amount of time that CHROs spend on each of these. So feel free to our listeners, feel free to download this and see what amount of time most of the CHROs who have responded to this are spending in some of these areas. So that's one of the reflection points for us to kind of change the strategy, reflect on the actual time being spent on some of the most critical areas versus, must have versus good to have. While talking about the CHRO effectiveness and how unsurprisingly it's cascading down from the expectations and time spent, one other parameter that we try to gauge and which you already a little bit touched upon, Narelle, is the level of technology that CHROs are leveraging today in their work. And what we actually found is on the next slide, please. we saw that while there is while most of the over 50% of the people, 62%, 56%, you see green highlighted ones, are leveraging full support in their current HR strategy and business alignment areas. um, if you see, around 50% of the leaders are spending partial to no support in other three areas, which is future transformation, C-suite success, and HR team growth. So when it comes to optimum utilization of technology, they rely very less on technology in some of these areas. Narelle, over to you. I know you mentioned some of the areas where your team is successfully leveraging technology and being successful at streamlining workflows. What could be the reason behind this data? And what are some of the ways that CHROs can actually optimize technology in some of the most meaningful ways?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So I think if you're in a CPO right now, they're crazy busy roles. You are keeping the wheels running. You're managing quite complex business and people environment, and you're being asked to focus on technology and play and find new ways to use it. It's a lot. And so I think for most people, you tend to go to your heartland, which is what are the core elements within the employee lifecycle? How can I save time and automate or create streamlined processes that help our people function as well as our managers and leaders? And that's where the time seems to be spent. But I think if you do take the time and step back and actually play with the technology and look at ways in which you can utilize it, what we have that our teams don't always have is experience. We've been through a number of different life cycles. We've seen technology used in different ways, and we may find different ways of using it that is helpful. And so I think for our function and our HR function, if I have a conversation where I'm actively using the technology and thinking about different ways to use it, my team is more likely to role model that. And so, yes, you can get lost in business as usual, but you need to find the time to find different use cases. The other thing that I would say is we have an amazing line of sight across all divisions and functions in our role. It is one of the privileges that we have in a CPO role. And so, where I'm also spending my time is with teams and divisions and functions of people helping to share use cases across those groups. Something we've done in HR, believe it or not, can help in our client teams. Something our client teams can help our marketing teams. And the HR transformation can help the finance transformation, or we can learn from operations. And so I think in our roles, yes, it's hard to do business as usual. Yes, it's hard to find the time. But if you want to lead this change, you need to be across it and embracing it, not just for today, but also for the future.
Right, right, and I love the part when you mentioned that in your organization you've created that line of visibility, that transparency within the organization on the use cases that can be scaled from HR to other business and functions as well. I think HR is one role which is actually uniquely qualified as a custodian of talent and leadership to be able to do that and scale and expand some of those use cases. So that's again a great point. While I feel it's a good news that most of the leaders are leveraging full support in their current organizational people and culture business alignment, because it gives them time to spend on a lot of meaningful other activities which need some human intervention. But as you mentioned, we also see some of those opportunity areas in C-suite success, HR team growth, at least, where they can again implement a lot of technology and leverage that meaningfully. So that is one of the opportunity areas we also identified in the HR work priorities in our research. Wonderful. Laurel, one other parameter and aspect while really diagnosing and understanding the CHRO effectiveness is also CHRO career trajectories that we try to, read and research more about. What is their experience and backgrounds? Where do they come from? And how does it really help them in finding success in this role? So we closely looked at the career paths for the CHROs, not just the past and what does the future look like in terms of their personal aspirations. And on the next slide, we will actually see that while 8 in 10 CHROs come from deep HR background, deep subject matter expertise, it's actually over 75%. And what they want to do is they do want to develop business acumen as a key skill. And why is that? Because almost 5 out of 10 CHROs actually aspire to take up new business roles in the future. So I'm just curious to understand from you, does that resonate with you, and what capabilities and career paths are emerging as essential for CHROs aiming to grow personally in SCA?
Yeah, this is probably one of the areas where I digress slightly from the norm, as does my global CPO. And so we both come from business roles initially, and found our home and our love of HR and people functions along the way. And so I have had many offers to move out of HR roles and into business roles. I'm commercially and business savvy. But I don't want to. Like, HR is my passion and I love it and I'll stay dedicated to it. But I think even given that, whenever people see me, I'm a business person first, whenever you're in a boardroom. But my superpower is my passion and expertise in people. And so that's there. But I can see how CPOs can go into other C-suite roles. And I think they make amazing leaders for a variety of reasons. Their strategic thinking and their ability to navigate complexity. People are complex. They don't always do what you want. You need to navigate that and find ways to align them with business. They are very good at being agile and managing complexity. Their business acumen, as I said, they have the best line of sight across all divisions and functions from a complexity point of view, not just the numbers. And they have an incredible ability to influence key stakeholders. And so when you think about running a business, if you can read a P&L, you can develop a strategy, you can align teams behind a common goal and chart a path for success, I can't think of anyone better than a good, well-developed, capable and aspirational CPO.
Right, right, and absolutely. I think some of the capabilities that you mentioned are bang on, and some of the ones that our research also finds. In fact, in the next slide, we'll have the top capabilities that a CHRO thinks that he or she should develop versus the business leaders think they should develop. So if we go on to the next slide, we'll also be able to take one of the audience's question that's there. It says, what can CHROs do better to ensure organizations are able to overcome technological disruptions quickly? And that's actually true and quite needed, because business leaders today want CHROs to definitely develop digital mindset and digital dexterity as a key skill. So, Narelle, would you like to address that question for our audience?
I think it's like we need to remember the role we're in, and technology needs technology people to invest in that. So I think there's a couple of pieces in here in what is the role that we play. I think technology within an organization and being clear on how it maps to your organizational context and client or consumer needs, and then how to leverage it internally or externally for that purpose requires dedicated support and thought. Where I think CPOs can influence that is particularly around how do we help to support clients' needs internally? So, for example, what are you doing around creating client teams? How are you supporting innovative ways in communicating with clients? How are you supporting collaboration and knowledge management? How are you making it easy to respond in the moment? And so I think there's a lot that we can do around better enabling client and sales and marketing teams. But I also think there's a big piece in there around adoption and that mindset and helping to enable the culture to shift as well. So I don't want people to think that CPOs are, the right people to create the digital and the technology and that side of things. But we need to be right there alongside of them, helping to prepare the culture, enable them, and ensure the right support is provided internally to maximize value and the culture and the client and consumer impact.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you for talking about this. And I also see, Narelle, in some of your responses, technology and digital mindset is coming quite often. That reflects how Kantar and in your HR organization, it's really embedded so deep that in every task, in every activity, in every decision, technology is a part of it. It's a consideration, and I think that's the mindset that CHROs today need to develop. One more thing that we observed here, and to your previous response as well, is a key capability that's coming across that's coming as business acumen. Whether CHROs such as yourself want to stay and grow in the same role in the CHRO, or they want to go in the business or other CXO roles, business acumen is the need of the hour, and that's something they do want to develop and do identify as well. The good thing is they are aware of it, they are identifying, but can you talk about some of the ways they can really develop that skill while being in this role or while aspiring to be in a CHRO role?
Yeah, definitely. So I'll talk from my context because I think it helps in terms of understanding our business. So if you think about an organization like Kantar, people cost is our highest cost. It's not like we make things. We actually do advisory and work as a consultancy and an advisory organization. And as such, HR is a critical part of managing your people costs and optimizing and aligning them and ensuring they're on the right clients, focused on the right accounts with the right capabilities. And so I would say for anyone who's in a people-based business, understanding your P&L, understanding your staff costs, understanding your GM and your revenue ratios, understanding what is the value of the people that is contributed. It's not saying that people is a resource. I think that's outdated, but it is saying, are you across your cost base and how much value it is creating for the organization? So that is being in monthly business reviews, quarterly business reviews, understanding the capabilities that drive greatest value, understanding your client needs, understanding your offer and what's required around your people. I don't think my commercial acumen would be any different from the role I'm in as a business leader on the board to whether I moved into a different C-suite role. That base level of understanding is what makes you an effective board and leadership member. So I don't agree with that at all. I think for anyone who is in businesses where they may have a different cost base, you need to be in the business and the financial conversations. It's a critical requirement, whether you're in HR now or whether you want to be in a C-suite role later on. But I would argue a good CPO has as much commercial and business acumen in their current CPO role as they would need in any other leadership role. It's just a different role that you're performing, and you're dialing up different aspects.
Right, right. So, in all the work priorities that we have identified, whether it's future transformation and preparedness, current HR and business strategy alignment, finding HR team success, or enabling C suite success, having the business acumen, the mindset to link your outcomes directly with businesses is very is the key to finding success. As you have this, you currently have the seat at the table, you need to justify that, right? One more question that we have from the audience, very interesting question, and I think that relates very well to one of the other top capabilities that we found is relationship building and executive collaboration. So the question says, how can CHROs make better ecosystem with other C-suites, especially when responding to customers, both internal and external clients? To enable organizational vision and technology investments. Very interesting question. Nirel, would you like to take this up?
It is. And so if I understand it, just let me make sure I've got it right. So it's about better internal relationships and leveraging those, correct?
Looks like, yeah.
Yeah. So I think part of our roles, if I think about the role of a CPO, and whether it's digital transformation, cultural transformation, or any other change in the organization, the CPO role is critical for ensuring alignment across all key stakeholders, as well as from the CEO down into the organization. You play, and it's not on most role descriptions, but you play a translation service on making sure that everyone understands their role in that from a C-suite perspective, that they understand how they add value, and also to smooth out any conflict that may occur between those leaders. So if you think about sales, marketing, HR, finance, product, technology, there are a lot of, for want of a better word, egos and big leaders in those roles. And our role is to ensure that the team is operating effectively, that we've got a degree of trust, that we're aligning behind key objectives, and that we're having the right type of healthy tension and conflict to create innovation and move forward. So I think the CPO role is essential on that and leaning into it. And I think one of the best ways to do that is to ensure that you have an agreement with your leadership team on the role that you can play in helping to uncover conflict and to move organizations forward. I think it's essential.
Wonderful. I hope that addresses your question, Shubham. Thank you so much, Narelle, for really expanding into it and taking up all the businesses and talking about how we can increase executive collaboration there. Now, talking about all of the factors that we've considered in the report, some of these parameters that we've talked about, what we've come up with in the end is a winning CHRO effectiveness model that we can see on the next slide, which talks about the key work dimensions and the capabilities an aspiring CHRO or a CHRO in their role need to develop in order to find success in that role and future-proof the HR leadership in their organization. Now, besides evolving and updating the CHRO scorecard, which we talked about in the beginning, which is like a Monday morning activity, that it has to happen to align with the CHRO work, what other imperatives do you see emerging for CHROs to succeed in 2025 and beyond, according to you?
Yeah, I think I keep coming back to digital transformation because it is one of the spaces, and this comes under future transformation and preparedness. A day is a long time in digital transformation. A week or a month starts getting you left behind with your competitive set. Everyone is playing with it. Everyone is experimenting with it. And the changes are not happening in an incremental. There's evolutions as you get convergence of technology. And so for me, delivering on your digital transformation and being a key part of that in terms of understanding what's needed now, but also in the next 12 to 18 months is absolutely essential. Along with that, you need to create, and we've been talking about this for over a decade, a culture of continuous learning. For those organizations who have invested in it, it is going to maximize now. People who are willing to learn, to iterate and to experiment. And the role of the CPO is, how do you work with leadership teams to create that at scale and ensure people are learning, adapting, and you're able to scale and leverage what comes out of those sessions. I think in terms of leadership, and we talk about C-suite success and around our stakeholders, your leaders are going to be under more pressure than they have been in the last 20 to 30 years, without a doubt. They're being asked to deliver on short-term business results, to manage the next 6 months of transformation to the end of the year. And then next year, it's going to hit them further in terms of absolute digital transformation. And so we need leadership that can deal with competing priorities, that paradox of everything is required and now. And I think that is absolutely huge. And how do you help your leadership teams to understand the rules around how you make money and create value of change? It's not just people driven, it is technology driven. And then I also think there's something in there around strengthening your manager base. That management layer is being compressed. And we've said this for the last 5 years. It has gotten leaner. It is being asked to deliver more. And they're also essential for your change at every level. And so strengthening that management group at scale, how are you doing that fueled by technology? And then the other thing I would say is employee well-being has never been more under pressure. The tension between technology becoming effective and managing the cost base of your organization and the pressure on your employees is huge. And so I think that is also for our HR teams. They're under pressure, being asked to do more with less. How are you helping them to embrace the digital ways of working? And so I think we're at a time of cost optimization, but we need to be thinking about longer term value contribution. And so I think, we want to focus on organizations that are resilient, adaptable, and can navigate these complexities. But, this is essential.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And thank you, Noel. Actually, you've touched upon all the layers of the organization, starting from leaders, how they are having to deal with, competing priorities with a lot of pressure to deliver in short term, from a lean layer of managers, again having a pressure to manage and deliver. So it's really how to strengthen that manager layer, and then focusing on employee well-being, and meeting their employee expectations aligned with business. I think those three are very, very important and key points to ensure that all the four key work dimensions are being met in a CHRO role. So thank you so much for diving deep into all of the layers of the organization and covering aspects of that. We do have a lot of questions coming in, Narelle, from the audience. Do you want to take the third and the fourth one?
I don't know. I can't see them. Wait. So, okay, I can see them now. So question 3, looking at 2025, what are some areas that CHROs should prioritize in building their HR teams? I'm going to come back to digital. So very, very, very simply, I would expect that most HR teams have clarity around their life cycles and what's needed from a programmatic perspective, from your performance management, your merit, through to your career development and the different elements. My challenge to my HR team and to yours is, how can technology make that simpler, more effective for our teams, for our colleagues, as well as for our managers, and get them to play? It will help them in their roles in their current organization, but also in the future going forward. I think it's essential. The other thing that I would say is, our HR teams are under enormous pressure. Like every other function, we're being squeezed on costs. And if you're not, you're very lucky. But most of us are being asked to do more with less. And I think a part of that is, do you have an open and safe environment where you can talk actively about what's happening, how they're working through the change, how you're enabling them, and how you're supporting their well-being as they go through one of the biggest transformations we will go through. And if you're not there yet, you will be over the next 12 months. So I think there's two things in parallel. Understand technology, use it, leverage it, develop it as a superpower. But importantly, recognize your teams are under massive pressure. How are you supporting and helping them through that in a really safe environment and safe space?
Wonderful. Great. I think one of our research studies in 2024 that we did, Sherpa, State of the HR Industry, also showed a very direct correlation between leveraging HR technology and its effect on HR teams' effectiveness. And how upskilled they are to be able to get their hands dirty to leverage technology, and which has a cascading effect into the technology adoption across the organization. So it's increasingly essential for CHRO to develop HR team and have to create a digital mindset within their HR organization, equip them with the technology enough to be able to, so that they are able to use it and help the organization develop it as well. Very, very critical.
And
Thank you,
Shesh,
Narelle, for touching upon that.
And Chester, the other thing that I would say, so I don't miss it, is the role of a business partner with leaders has never been more complex as well. And so we spoke a lot about C-suite and stakeholder influencing and engagement. And I would say that is the other piece, which is how do you help our leaders to adapt and shift their mindsets and to think about different ways of doing things. And I think that's the other space that we're spending a lot of time, is changing hearts and minds around what's possible. Different operating models, different ways of doing things is a huge amount of investment from the teams at the moment as well, and helping your HR teams to have some of those really complex stakeholder conversations.
Right, absolutely. This is absolutely essential. So, speaking of doing more from less, that you rightly mentioned, I think our audience couldn't have agreed more with you on that and truly resonate. So, if you were to give one advice to the aspiring CHROs, to the senior leaders in HR fraternity who are looking to step into the expanding role of CHRO, what would that advice be?
Oh gosh, it's such a, when you gave me this question, I'm like, how do you answer that? I think CPOs are more and more business roles, and I truly believe that you have a business lens about creating value for the organization. Your superpower is people. You understand how people work. You understand how to put teams together. You understand how to lead, and to how to maximize cohesion across an organization. That is your superpower, but be absolutely business focused. I would say the other thing is like any role, is just being really authentically you. Each CPO will have different strengths and areas that they've developed over a period of time. And part of your role is understanding how you can maximize that value in a leadership role. So for me, I've always been a transformation and change expert. I never knew how much that would help me out now, but it really has. And I'm drawing on all of it right now to help me out. But it is the thing that differentiates me, is coming from a business role and also having that deep change and transformation expertise has really helped me out. Don't ever forget, people is our passion and our commitment to them, and drive meaningful impact with them. But this is just another evolution in our world. This model is relevant and helpful. So, be a business leader. Find out what your superpower and strength is, and be authentically you. Don't forget, we're about the people.
Wonderful. That's amazing. So, I think the CHRO of the future needs to be tech savvy. As you said, digital mindset is the most important, business focused. The business CHRO is the one who will find success, and also highly connected. The relationship that they can nurture and leverage for their own growth, their organization's growth, and then share as well, I think seems like the few most important criteria to find success in this role. Great. I hope we've been able to respond to most of the questions for you. And for any more questions, feel free to download the research and share the feedback and any comments that you have on it. We also always strive to improve on this. You will find many other data points and insights that you can leverage for your conversations with your CEO and C-suite. Towards the end of it, what we did was, in the research, we have also compiled a few of the gaps and imperatives that are essential for the CHROs and senior HR leaders to keep in mind to find success in 2025 and beyond. So I hope this research is helpful, and I hope the valuable perspective that Narelle has been able to bring to the conversation is something we all can leverage in our work. Thank you so much, Narelle, again, for the wonderful insights and sharing your experience and best practices at Kantar. It's truly an amazing conversation with you.
Thank you so much, Yesha. It's lovely to be a part of it. Thank you.
Wonderful. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.